Look at all the MBA students. I'm so grateful that they're here. Okay, your show, Richard.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, look, as always, we're so fortunate to have yet another superstar on tonight, this afternoon. Shelly Sondheim is joining us. Shelly's a good friend that I happen to cross paths with in Kazakhstan. Shelly is truly doing things all over the globe. But let me introduce you to Shelly now. Shelly serves as Chief Creative Officer for his global music production and publishing company, CSM Words and Music. In the role of President and Chief Executive Officer, Shelly Sondheim is a guitarist, a pop songwriter, music producer, lyricist, vocal arranger, studio session specialist, electronic dance remixer, industry networking expert, and international music business entrepreneur. And that's certainly how my paths crossed with him. From graduating at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, which of course, for many of you who do not know, is one of the world-renowned music universities, music colleges, to the prestigious studios of Los Angeles, Nashville, New York, and Europe, Sondheim shares work strategies, insights, and possibilities for youth to advance in today's music business. And he'll get to some of the things that he's been involved in. But one of his spotlight projects was the Phil Collins Little Dreams Band. I mean, he's worked with so many superstars. When he landed in Vegas, he began working with cabaret superstars like Lola Falana, Wayne Newton, Roy Clark, Flip Wilson, Paul Anka. I mean, these are all just, you know, amazing stars in the music industry over time. And the demand for his creative participation has included sessions with Natalie Cole, Little Richard, Billy Preston, and he's produced commercials, TV, and film soundtracks. Without further ado, I want to hand it over to you, Shelly. Thank you so much for joining us today at Mays Business School at Texas A&M University. It's awesome having you on.
Richard, thank you for that very, very gracious introduction. And I want to say, first of all, I have my Mays shirt on, so we're really all together. We're all brothers and sisters right there. I want to first and foremost thank the MBA students for taking time out of a very busy schedule. I know that the kind of work that you're doing right now in your life, there's 20 things going on at the same time. Richard even disclosed that there was an activity going on campus that he's asked you to kind of ditch that, come to this, go back to that. I really understand how it works. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your day and the focus to address what we hope are some things that you can take away from this meeting. Specifically, my concept, creating success in your own way. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Secondly, I want to really thank you, Richard. You know, we've fostered our friendship for quite some time and met in a very unusual capacity. I have so much respect and praise for you and the work that you did with Nazarbayev University and running the MBA program there for 6 years. It takes a lot to go to a country like Kazakhstan and make the kind of impact that you did, that you've brought now to the Mays Lions. I don't know if you're called Aggies or Lions, or I want to call you the right thing, but you're all Lions to me as far as I'm concerned. And so I want to
the Aggies for sure.
Thank you so very much for the work that you do and these seminars that you set up and inviting me to come to this. And, you know, lastly, or, you know, third and last, is that I took the liberty myself to reach out to my network and to my friends and support. And there are many people who I see that are not MBA Mays graduates, but yet friends and family and supporters and mentors and inspirations to Shelly Sondheim. So I want to say thank you all for joining me today and supporting this effort to encourage others. I think it's testament of what we're going to talk about today, building networks and creating relationships and maintaining those relationships, to see some of the bright faces and the special people that I see. Matter of fact, I'm not going to hit the galleries too much because I'll get lost. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen time to talk to Terry Woolman in a month or two. So I'm just going to stay focused with Richard and I and try and stay on point. And Richard, I know that you have an agenda. I used some time to prepare as well. You know, made some notes properly. tried to organize my thoughts in this brief time that we have, 45, 50 minutes or so. And we do have a very special guest that I'm going to do an introduction to. Thinking that's maybe going to happen in about 10 or 15 minutes. So why don't we start with you? I know that you have some very specific things that you wanted to ask of me.
Yeah, please.
Or we can advise. I can take it from here and work on some of the quadrants that I worked out. What would you like?
I'd like to, ideally, I'd like to ask you some questions, and I do also want to thank, your network for some of your top friends that have arrived here and that are participating as well. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Shelly, I got to know, and I think the audience would want to know, participants would want to know, when did you know you wanted to do music as your job, and what did you do about it?
Well, I didn't know that it would be a job, but I knew early on that music was my thing. And there was, junior high school, senior high school, jamming in the band, in the garage bands and stuff. And I learned at a very early time that that's how to create a gang or a network or a tribe or a community, these other kind of words that we use in today's lingo. But I knew that I was much better when I had a hot drummer, cool bass player, sax guy, maybe a good singer. And so a lot of my upbringing was, I think, like many musicians and music professionals, at least those that are touching instruments, is, jamming with friends, junior high school and high school. And that translated to going to college, to San Francisco State University, where I was also, working in clubs and meeting the likes of Mike Bloomfield and John Handy, who was a great teacher of mine at San Francisco State. But I had one big problem. I sounded good, I could jam, I could funk out, but I didn't know anything about music. I mean, I was really just absolutely didn't know what a sharp or a flat was. And so a very dear teacher in San Francisco pulled me to the side and really drove that lesson home, that I'm clueless. I do not know anything about music, even though I could play Santana or I could Jimi Hendrix, I could emulate the licks, but I didn't know any music. So they introduced me to the Berklee College of Music. That's when I left California, moved to Boston, and started what would be the most transformative time of my life, entering Berklee College of Music. So that took us up to college time.
Excellent. Well, look, today we're here to talk, obviously, about creating success in your own lane. What does that mean in terms of building career success and professional identity?
Well, as I said, I'm not hitting the gallery, so I don't know if this particular person's on, but a very kind and influential lawyer was responsible for putting this theme into my mind at one of the trade events that I attend, the Meetum event in the south of France, the Carlton Hotel, and also at the Austin South by Southwest. And as he was giving me guidance and advice, he was really saying, you're really your own guy. You're creating success in your own lane. And that's what we need to focus on in terms of expanding your professional identity. And I took that concept into Columbia College Chicago for an artist in residency program that I was able to do twice. And what it really means to me, and what I hope it means to the MBA students, we're not necessarily talking specifically about the music business, though that's my expertise and that's my lane. What we're really talking about is that each person has their own ability to create success in their own lane. I often talk with young artists and who want to be Taylor Swift or Beyonce or a band that wants to be Maroon 5. And not everybody's going to be Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Maroon 5. So the point is that there are 300 jobs that go around that particular celebrity's career. So you have to really find what is your thing and create success with your life. And, a group of people around you as well, and a philosophical, let's say spiritual aspect of having self-confidence. There's a lot of rejection and trying to compare with others. And so I'd like to encourage the MBA students as they go forward in the studies right now at school, and then go out to find the gigs and to find the jobs and to compete with other MBA candidates and all kinds of corporations and all kinds of lines of work that whether it's you're an accountant or whether you're an attorney or whether you're in the medical profession, to create success in your own lane really means to do your own thing, not somebody else's thing, not be compared to somebody else's thing, but to really have your own sense of concrete identity. And that's a lifetime campaign, which I'm still actively engaged. I can say that all of the friends and family of my support group that are on this call and in my life are doing the same at every level.
Well, and if I could just the one thing that stands out to me about something that you and I talked about was with regards to creating success in your own lane. You mentioned David Foster, for example, such a world-renowned, right, producer, works with Bocelli, works with a lot of these famous people, and you saw, he was just one example that you used as sort of this space, for example, here in the U.S. being very congested. And one of the things that you thought to do was to look abroad, to look at opportunities of, in this particular sphere, but outside of the United States as potential opportunity. And I think that's a really good example of sort of driving home this idea of creating success in your own lane. You still wanted to go about doing it, but you thought of a creative way in which you could do it, which I think really made an impression on me.
Friendly way to say that is, how many times can you hear no on Sunset Boulevard?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Excellent.
as I was sharing with you, there are the beautiful superstar careers and talents of Jamon Lewis and Quincy Jones and David Foster, and we can just go down the line of film scores. But for whatever reason in life, I didn't become David Foster. I'm Shelley Sondheim, and I knew that there were artists that I could find in Belgium and in Sweden and in Kazakhstan and all over the world that I could share what it is I have to offer and work my own lane of success and be able to build an international clientele of artists that sought out not only myself, but the colleagues that I work with. And so I offer this advice to the MBA students, or this guidance or inspiration, let's call it, not really advice, is that whatever company you're thinking about working for, whatever discipline you're thinking about mastering, there are lots of companies. We were talking to yesterday, Richard and I, one of the senior vice presidents at McDonald Corporation, and just sharing that we were going to be together and inviting him to come on. McDonald's is all around the world. Hilton is all around the world. Ritz-Carlton is all around the world. Hospitals are all around the world. So if my example, because I'm in Hollywood, saying how many times can you hear no on Sunset Boulevard? If you're hearing no in San Antonio, or you're hearing no in Dallas, or you're hearing no in Houston, I mean, following the footsteps of your MBA leader, Richard, there are other opportunities all throughout the world that you can create your lane of success. And sometimes by doing that, coming back into where you normally are, you create even more sizzle and more name because you've gone out and done something. And this is what the prominent lawyer was recognizing in me. He was saying, well, I don't have, Dallas Austin or Jimmy Jam or Terry Lewis or Ron Fair in front of me. I got this guy, Shelley Sondheim, but he's got a lot going on. Richard?
Very cool. Yeah. So look, this pandemic has obviously brought a lot of change to a lot of industries. And I'm curious, so what do you see as challenges facing artists, companies, and existing revenue streams? And in particular, of course, obviously with this pandemic in mind, how does the live sector restart? And what technologies will drive this forward, do you believe?
Well, I'm certainly not an expert in this topic, but I have opinions and I stay well informed. I'm very much one of the guys who joined all the clubs, goes to meet them, and PopCon and South by Southwest and MuseExpo and the Billboard events and the various conventions and industry functions, which have all closed. Concerts, so many venues have closed, and touring companies that were the primary source of income for many touring musicians, which are a lot of my friends, absolutely died. So as it turns out, with my very special guest that I'm about to introduce in a few minutes, I think that that's going to be a question we're going to revisit, because I feel that he is probably one of the leading, foremost experts in this absolute topic, because it is his entire life and has been his entire life. But, you know, I think that live streaming and the technology of fan building uh, is very real today. And same thing with education. Using, you know, my college, Berklee College of Music, and others, but Berklee as the leader, it's all online. And, you know, this behemoth of a leadership institution worldwide turned so quickly to be able to service students all around the world. And that's a testament to the innovation and the progressiveness of not only the Burke family, but Roger Brown and all of the talented colleagues that work at that you know, laboratory. Really is what it is. It's a phenomenal place. So from universities to live shows to Zoom meetings to Zoom speaker engagements, we're in a time now that this is a fortuitous time to figure out how to do sessions, how to do gigs, how to build fans, and how to try and continue earning a living doing this. So I think that the live streaming is really, I read an article that Melissa Etheridge is making $500,000 a month in her live stream performances with fans. You know, so you're talking about a ton of money right there. That's really a tremendous success. But I'm gonna have my special guest friend speak a little bit more to this.
And, you know, along those lines too, like I know just recently the Houston Symphony, for example, is now going to be doing these like online shows for people that are interested in tuning in and so forth. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. I think this is obviously, in some ways, it's created obviously a new kind of opportunity as well. So it's quite interesting, I think, no doubt.
It absolutely has. And, you know, I did hit the button to monitor to see if my friend is on yet, but and I noticed that we have a very nice audience. Again, I want to thank all of the students for taking time and you know, making this meeting together. See that we have over 110 participants, and that's just really fantastic.
Mark Bales is on, and he just confirmed that he works for the Houston Symphony, and he confirmed that as well. That's cool. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. So I want to know quickly, and I know everyone want to know about your one of the current projects that you've got going on, and it's been going on for a while. It's big. And you know, I want to know about the Youth Music Experience, YME. And if you could, you know, how can international contacts and networks be utilized to advance collaborations, objectives, and value-added roles? You know, you know, I think Youth Music Experience is one example of that. So if you wouldn't mind, you know, elaborating on that, Shelley.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to do so. The Youth Music Experience is really a program that I have packaged that which I've been successful. It's a creative mentoring program for deserving youth and talents, somewhat like a lottery. I've spoken to countries, as you know, Kazakhstan and throughout the world, to find the right kind of territory and region that will, A, fund this, and B, really need this and want this. I seem to get real close, then it goes away. I seem to get real close, then it goes away. So that's another shared perspective about creating success in your own lane that I'd like to share with the MBA candidates, is that you really can never give up. You just don't know when the right client or the right opportunity. So being told no, I don't even hear it anymore. I mean, no, I flip around and you mean it's on? We're on. So no, it's no. I see it the other way. It's on. So the Youth Music Experience is a program that we, as I say, harnessed several events. The Medium event in the south of France, a week's worth of industry and education immersion in Sweden, in a facility that we are connected to in Sweden, an award to go to the Berklee College of Music in the summer session, to go to the Reeperbahn Festival in Germany, have a live showcase, as well as doing live sessions and live recordings. So there's 3-tier awards. There's a gold, platinum, silver, and then a Zero to Hero Incubator Award. Uh, I've got a phenomenal team of support and talent and expertise. Victoria is my partner and wife and vice president of our company. We have Asa Nyland in Sweden. We have Paul Pennicott in the UK. And I have a global network of, this relates to the question that you asked me, I have a global network of several hundred writer, producer friends, lawyers, labels, managers, publishers, TV, film, sync, colleagues that are interested and wanting to do this creative mentoring program. So it's exciting. It's a 10-month program covering five regions, and it's as you say a lot to chew, but at the same time, each one of the tiers I've already done. I've already succeeded in, and I've already sort of worked the territory. So we're buckling this all together as one program for the youth of a deserving region. And you know, it's all proprietary and it's all confidential, but I can share with you that I've gotten very close to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the youth there, and their Vision 2030 mandate to include women and youth in the workforce. And so those seem to be very progressive conversations I'm having at this time. So again, international networking, ACE Lions and MBA students. The idea of reaching beyond what you think the area is, for me, has been very fruitful, and it's been very fortuitous to find clients all around the world. If we can launch pop stars in Kazakhstan, Richard, I feel I can find clients for the YME, be it Saudi Arabia or Malaysia or Trinidad or who's ever really ready to do this program.
Excellent. I want to ask you, what is the significance, do you feel, of mentors, internships, and seeking training opportunities? I think certainly this could be obviously something that's applied certainly in the MBA sphere. You know, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it's really key. I think that it is the fuel to growth, the fuel to forever seeking spirit. You know, the mentor-disciple relationship, or the having mentors, having teachers, as I've been fortunate to have. There are music mentors that are in my life that I look up to. You know, there are spiritual mentors and family and friend mentors that the relationships go on. They, you know, as current as today, I'm seeing some of my friends and mentors on this call. So I think that it's very important to reach to the people, MBA folks, that you feel inspired by. You know, if you're, for example, if you're on LinkedIn or you're on Facebook, you're on social media, you see Keith Ferrazzi, and it's Keith Ferrazzi Greenlight, and his book, Don't Eat Lunch Alone. I thought that that was a fascinating thing, and I really dug into there and ended up making a good connection with Keith. So the point is that if there's somebody at that company, Hewlett Packard or Dell or whatever you're thinking, an accounting firm, I think the keys are really you put forth the effort. You really put forth the effort to shine up your own self, creating success in your own lane so that you come to the equation as shiny as possible. And you prepare so that you know who the people are that you're reaching and what they're really transmitting, what their mission is. And then I think that it's very important to have the seeking spirit to really ask to be mentored or to have an internship. Sincerity is a tremendous card to play. So by having that deep, sincere desire to want to connect with Richard, or to, you know, I mean, I did. I met this guy in Kazakhstan who was running the President's University, and I was pitching YME to young people, and I really wanted to find out about Richard, so I really took the time to do so. That's why we're on this call right now. So I think you know, the value of having a mentor or having several mentors in several of the areas that you're focused on is unlimited, and it keeps you always in the seeking attitude, that you don't have all the answers. You have friends and mentors, and people that you can go to ask for advice or to gain that encouragement when you're knocked down and told no, 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 no. And ideally, what we want to do, at least what I aspire to do and what I know many do, is you want to rise up to the mentor and surpass, which is what the mentor really wants for you, is to exceed, their expectations. How's that?
Very good. And I can tell everyone in the audience that Shelly is just the master networker. I mean, you just can't imagine. If there's someone, if I'm connected with someone on LinkedIn, rest assured Shelly is connected with him too. It's quite impressive. Okay, this is sort of my little category area that I enjoy probably the most. It's that little something extra, Shelly. So I'm curious, and I know the audience is probably curious. What were some of the, or who are, I should say, are some of your favorite musicians or stars that you've either worked with or that you've kind of, you've had some interactions with, and maybe who are some of the ones that maybe were the most difficult? So the ones that you enjoyed the most and maybe some of the ones that were the most difficult.
Well, having the opportunity to work with celebrities and prominent folks, or get to know prominent folks, is a real treat. It's a real privilege. I like to tell a little short story about you wondering about this work. When I got out of Berkeley and moved to Las Vegas, one of the gigs that I was trying to do is work on a strip with a celebrity or in a house band. And what we as musicians did is we would gather at the Musicians Union, and the stars that were performing there would bring their music director or their conductor to the union so they could hear their new chart or hear a new arrangement of a song that they were going to do. So I didn't have a car then. So on the bus, I would take my amp and my guitar, 105 degrees, go to the Musicians Union at noon, 1 o'clock for the daily jam. And this particular time, in walks B.B. King. Now, I know Texas is a blues state, and you can relate to the blues, but it was B.B. King and his music director. So I have my stuff all set up, and so naturally I get up. It's B.B. King walking in the door. Of course he says, "No, you play." So B.B. King right in front of me. We run the chart. Of course, it says solo. I play the famous B.B. King lick. He smiles, thumbs up. And so when we wrap it up, I'm so beside myself that I just did this in front of B.B. King. And I said, Mr. King, I have your famous Cook County Jail record. Would you please consider signing it? I have to go back to my apartment and get it. He said, sure, go get it. Now, again, I didn't have a car, so I had to run back on the bus, go to my apartment, get the record, wait for the bus, come back to the union. And it took a little while. Well, nobody was there except B.B. King as music director. He waited for me. So I have the record here. It's always by my side. He signed it for me. And what he says is, "Stay with it, Shelly." B.B. King.
That's awesome.
So, that again, though it wasn't like a direct mentorship, it was enough mentorship for me to still hold this record by my foot now and know that I've got to practice some scales later when we get off this call.
I got the goosebumps, man. That was something. That was something. That's a cool story.
I'm not going to tell you any of the disaster stories, but I will tell you the thrill of the glass going up at this SBM Sporting Club in Monte Carlo, conducting the orchestra. I will tell you that it was phenomenal to be on television with the Eastern Europe pop stars in Kazakhstan. There have been some really top of the dunes, conducting Lola Falana on New Year's Eve at the Sands Hotel. There are some really treasured moments, great sessions in Nashville with all of the killer, A teams of everybody, Vince Gill's guys. So it's really been a tremendous privilege to have this opportunity. But it comes by being prepared, being really ready for it, seeking it out, relentless effort, and then creating success in your own lane. Not being defeated when you're told no, or you don't get the gig, or you don't get the session. Because thinking of another time at SIR, auditioning for a Janet Jackson tour. And there were 20 guitar players in the hall. Only one's going to get the gig, but what happened to the other 19? They're still phenomenal. They're great. It's just one of them got the gig, and the other 19 didn't. So it's those moments that we really have to create success in our own life. Realize our own value and our own self-worth, go back to our programs, go back to our training, go back to our seeking spirit to be able to make a contribution to the world, to others, to the people that are around us, and ideally to make a living. I mean, you know, I know that from the student's perspective and the MBA's perspective, you funded this education opportunity, or your family has gotten together on this. There's a big question about work. You know, getting a job, having a career, making money, earning and making a living at this. And so these times of self-confidence are so critical, and creating success in your own lane is really all about that. I'm not pressing the buttons, but do we see Alfredo on yet?
I don't see him on, but he may be on under a different, you know, I'm not sure. I don't see his name off, but I have been looking. But maybe we can just do a shout out and see if he's on. You wanna ask?
Yeah, I can make a quick call too. Oh yeah, Wally, are you there? If you're there, unmute yourself.
He may not have gotten on yet. Do you want to share some of those photos that you were talking about?
Yeah, Victoria, why don't you click through some of these? I'm going to make the quick call to Wally.
Yeah, he's in a different time zone, so that could always be a problem.
Sophie, can you do Anish? Wally, can you click on the link? Oh, it's under Wally's wife's name, Kirsten De Los Reyes.
Okay. Well, if he's on, then we can just have him tune in.
Let's see if you're on.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I see him. Yep. Do you want to ask him to go ahead and unmute then? I can unmute him and he can talk. He may need.
I'm here under my wife's Zoom name.
There he is.
Up, I have to do the intro. It's show
Can
business.
you hear me?
We can hear you. We can see you.
We can hear
Hell,
you.
now I cannot hear you. What happened? Let me join in because I was hearing you fine, but now I can't. I'll join back.
Okay, so while Wally's joining back, I'll do a little bit of intro. Okay?
Yeah, that's great.
So one of the guidances I got from my close friend and mentor, I know he probably doesn't want to well anyway, Lee Burke, who I love and adore.
Oh, there you are.
You know,
Can you hear me?
Chicago artist in residency at Columbia. I asked him, how could I best impact the visit? How could I best encourage the students? What's the best thing I could do? And he said, bring an army, bring a professional army. So I thought about that in today's call, and I thought of the many friends. Some are on, Terry Woolman's on, and others are on, but this is a very special friend. When I moved to Las Vegas, the first night I got there, I took my guitar up to the top of the strip, Tropicana, and I was going to go sit in every casino lounge, every single one. And I go into the very first one, and there was some crazy Ralph Loveday, the flying elephants with tubas, but there was this drummer, and this drummer was absolutely unreal, like all the guys I knew in Boston. So I waited till the break. I went up to him afterwards and said, I just moved here from Boston. I have a jazz fusion band. I need to get a gig. And he said, you're coming to my house tomorrow. And he would schedule jam sessions every afternoon with his father, who's famous, Alfredo Sr., his brother, Danny, who grew up to be famous in the Zac Brown band, His daughter wasn't even born, but now she's with George Benson. And John Pena and Alex Acuna and all of these very famous, touring musicians. So this guy took me by the hand, showroom to showroom, introducing me to everybody he knew. He grew up there. He was already famous in junior high school, playing with the likes of be it Bette Midler or Ben Vereen or Doc Severinsen, and he's been teaching clinics all around the world since the early 80s. Walfredo has gone on to play with Santana as the drummer and percussionist at the same time, a feat that only a few people in the entire world can do. Steve Winwood, Traffic, Jimmy Barnes, Joe Sample. His list of credits and the network that Wally has created is just, I always call him my most famous friend. Now he sits as the drummer of the rock band Chicago, iconic rock band. And so it's with enormous love and tremendous respect and tremendous camaraderie that 40 years later, we are on this call together. My very closest friend and dearest friend, Walfredo Reyes.
All right. Can you see me?
We can see you. We can hear you and see you.
All right. I am so sorry. I didn't realize that I'm through my wife's Zoom, so that's why you didn't recognize. I didn't have a sex change or anything. I'm not Kirsten Delos Reyes. That's my wife, and so here I am. And what a pleasure! I've been here. I've been listening to you guys, and it's fascinating what you've been talking about.
Well, we definitely want to thank you so much for joining us today. If it's possible, I would like to have Dean Jones, if you're on, if you could maybe just, if there's anything you'd like to ask Walfredo. So our dean of Mays Business School is a big drummer in and of himself, and I told him, I gave him an inside, kind of a little bit of inside info that you were going to be on, and he had thankfully had some time on his schedule that he was able to join us. But anyways, Dean Jones, if you'd like to ask Walfredo any questions or.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I've been working on my paradiddles. Excuse me one second. Yeah. No, I've enjoyed listening to you. What's your set now? What kind of set are you playing these days?
DW,
DW,
Sabian, Regal Tip, LP, and then some, of course.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to throw away my snare drum collection of other brands.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what I'm doing on tour and in the studio.
Right. What about Roland V drums, kind of the electronic drums with the acoustic feel? Have you played those?
I use them. I use them especially in Lindsey Buckingham's tour.
Mm.
I was listening to Shelley talk about different stars demand different things, just like clients in a restaurant demand different things. So when I arrived at Lindsey Buckingham, we were rehearsing the songs, and Lindsey said, I have a lot of guitars and the keyboard has a lot of sounds. You're not going to play drums all night, are you? And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I want a different drum set sound on each song. And I said, well, that's not going to happen with an acoustic set. So I had to get the V drums, and Lindsey and I programmed 13 different drum sets for each song. So sometimes you got to do that,
Right. That's right. No, that's great. So who's the best bass guitar player you played with? As you know, the drummer and the bass guitarist, they're really close in different songs. But the best bass guitarist?
There's many.
Yeah.
And there's I played with so many that name dropping would be
Yeah.
I mean, Alfonso Johnson, Armand Sabaleco, Jimmy Haslett. These are like Laboriel Sr., Abe Laboriel Sr., the bass player with Chicago, Jay Anderson. And it goes on, John Pena.
Yeah.
And, we have so many unknown bass players that are amazing also.
Mm-hmm.
The relation with the bass and the drums is, we're kind of like the motor of a car, and so we have to work together.
That's right. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I'm sure the students might have some questions too.
Yeah, thank you, Dean Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got a little over 15 minutes with these superstars here, and I want to make sure that any audience, you've got any questions, you can please either unmute yourself and ask, or if you'd like to chat them in the chat box, I can go ahead and ask for you. But this is a great opportunity for you. I mean, just legends in the music industry here. It's quite cool.
You know, one of the things that I really want to say about my friend Shell, that since I've known him, this is something that was a lesson that I've learned from my friend Shell. Once you arrive and you want to be a professional musician, there's a start and there's no ending. Times will go, sometimes things go down, things go up. There's failures, there's successes. But, that's part of the game, So the one thing that Shell has taught me is to be persistent and the discipline. Go to bed with an alarm. Basically, if you're in a party or whatever, sometimes when you're younger, you party more. But, it's time to go to bed because the alarm's going to sound in the morning. And I got to get up a certain time because the word time is precious, and I got a lot of stuff to achieve tomorrow, to work on, to practice, to learn, and to basically work on my life. And there's so many things that you have to work on. So don't just let things come. Tomorrow will come, and let's see tomorrow what it will bring. That's not Shel Sondheim. Shel Sondheim is, I would like to achieve 1 million things tomorrow. I know probably that it's not going to happen, but I got to start a certain time, and the discipline, get your coffee, your tea, whatever, and start working. When Shel told me that he will wake up at 4 a.m. every day, it was like, what? He goes, oh yeah, there's different time zones. So I get up at 4 a.m. By 7 o'clock, I'm in this zone. And by lunchtime, I have achieved 3,000 calls, practiced my scales, done my prayers, done everything, and the day is not even over. So that's what I admire, that I'm doing it right now with the COVID-19. I got to get up. I got to do the family thing, the emails, the social media. I got tracks to do in my studio. I got things to learn. I got to get better at Logic Audio, and I got lessons to give. So it's still the teachings that my friend taught me, I'm doing today. So that's why we have a big friendship. We lift each other up, and we definitely continue to learn from each other. Shel is an amazing person, amazing teacher, amazing musician.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much. I really, really treasure your words. I love you so much.
Love you too, brother.
And Wally, you talk about it, obviously you're talking about it from the music industry perspective, but everything you said is so applicable to the MBA world, the business. I mean, it's so applicable to everything that we're doing. We're trying to be successful. These lessons, I mean, they're just so invaluable to whatever industry you're in. And I'm so happy that you shared that story. Because I think it's good for our students to hear, that, and all of us in our day-to-day jobs. I did want to, if it's okay, I did want to ask one of our students, Sophia Salazar, she's one of our MS business students, asks, because there are so many artists trying to make it big out there, how did you deal with the musician's version of imposter syndrome, thinking, am I good enough?
Is that for Shelly or me?
You both can take it if you'd like.
Am I good enough? I mean, it's not even a question. It's like, do you have something to say? That's the question. You basically go forward with what you have to say, and go forward, and you put it out there, and people will like it, and some people will not like it. You go to Michael Jackson's YouTube video, and it has something like, what, worldwide 30 million, and then 2 million thumbs up. And you can't believe there's like about 500 thousand thumbs down. They didn't like it, but he's still Michael Jackson. He was 30 million or something like that. So there are always going to be critics. There are always going to be people that are not going to like you or what you look like or what you have to say. But if you listen to those people, Shelly would not be there and I would not be here.
And the other thing is that our concept today is creating success in your own lane. So it really directly goes to this question about the am I good enough? When you're creating success in your own lane, you're always good enough. It's you. I mean, you have a chance to be alive today, to use your talents today, to use your brain today, to be healthy, to be self-fit, to focus on the things that make you the very best you, to go out and do your thing, whatever that thing is. Everybody has a different role. But if you're really focused on creating success in your own lane, you're never really at the crossroads or at the brick wall of wondering, am I good enough? Or is it good enough? I see it's so great. There's so many questions here. I also want to ask one more friend to just chime in just briefly, because I know he had a very important record launch day today. My friend Terry Woolman has been on the call. He's down in 3 boxes to the right, red shirt. Phenomenal music director, arranger, guitar player, celebrity musician, and has worked behind the scenes on so many television shows, from Arsenio Hall to Byron Allen to, we even put a band together called the New Love Orchestra to audition for the Roseanne show. Terry is also a Berklee graduate, and I met him in 1976 when he was just coming from Miami with his acoustic guitar, playing in some coffee shops up on Boylston Street. So Terry, please unmute yourself, chime in, and there's a couple of these questions that maybe through your wisdom and guidance, if you want to say anything about it. I know you know Wally and both of them.
I do.
Well.
Yeah. You can hear me?
Hear you fine.
Yes.
Great. And hey, Wally, and hi, Shelly. It's great to see you both. I also just want to give a quick acknowledgement to Lee Burke, who I saw on the call as well. I want just, on behalf of all of us, and there's so many, thank you for creating a facility, an environment where we could learn the tools that we needed to be able to show up and do the work that we've been doing our whole careers. So deeply indebted for that opportunity. You know, Shelly, one of the things that I wanted to say that I've noticed that I saw in you from when we first met, and it's one of the characteristics that you have that hasn't been discussed yet. Clearly you have an amazing sense of focus. You are disciplined, you're focused, you're passionate, you have all of those tools that we all share, Wally and you and I, that propel us to get up every morning and keep working on our crafts. But you also have one other thing, and I think this applies to all the MBA students as an extra tool to add into your vocabulary. You have a sense of generosity that I've always seen in you from when we first met, where there was this sort of undertone of competitiveness, even at Berklee with 1,000 guitar players, you know, the year that, you know, that I joined. And, you know, people were kind of, it felt competitive in a way. I never approached it that way. Neither did you. And you were always very generous with me. We always, in a very natural way, supported each other. My success was your success. And when I saw you do something, I felt that it was mine as well. And I still do about you. And I just want to say that I appreciate that in you. And I think that's one of your deepest gifts, as well as your amazing musicianship. But it's that sense of the sense of we, and not just an I approach to everything that you do. I mean, you do the work, but you're not afraid to share the opportunities. And I think that's come back tenfold to you. And Wally, I would imagine you would agree as well. And myself too, you know, we're not to recommend somebody if we're not the right person, or if we're not able to do it. You know, there's a fearlessness about that I applaud you. I thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate that. Richard, did you want to move on? I see there's just time.
No, I mean, first of all,
About these questions, I just wanted to say that when I attend a lot of events, and I always want to reach the speaker, and they're leaving stage left, and they're gone, and I missed them. I didn't get the business card. So I want to assure you that we're very available. WilfredoReyes.com, TerryWollman.com, Shelley Sondheim, CSM Words and Music. These questions can go on. This isn't a one-time, one-and-done deal. I'm still talking to students that I was with at Columbia College Chicago in 2010 and 2012. I still talk to Berklee College students that are just graduating now, moving out to LA. So this is a dialogue, a discussion that I don't want any of the Mays Lions, the MBA students, the people who have taken the time to come onto our call today to feel unsatisfied or still hungry. No, stay hungry. I say stay hungry, but we're all reachable. So these questions can go on. Richard, you want to go ahead and handle that?
Shelley, this is obviously a great time to tell everyone that you are going to be on the Mays Master Cast, my friend. So that's gonna happen soon as well. So keep, everyone can, keep that in mind as well. You'll get to hear more from Shelley soon as well. I do want to ask one quick question personally, fast, because Burke Lee was on, or Lee Burke, sorry, was on, on very early on. I had a chance to welcome him, but you guys have, you've mentioned him now on a few occasions. I want to hear who he is. Talk to me, because I think he's got something to do with Berklee College of Music, and I want to know a little bit about that. So Shelley, can you tell us all who he is? Because he's on here, I believe, with his wife, I believe.
Sure. They're two of the greatest friends I've ever had in my life. I'm so fortunate to meet them. Met him right at the beginning of college, 1976. Berklee College of Music was founded by Lee's father, called the Schillinger House, and it grew into a change of name, changed the name with his son, Lee Burke, Berklee. When they wanted a new president, his daughter said, well, I'll go for the role if they call it Lucy Burke, Burke Lucy. But they didn't want to go for that. So they're a very tremendous family with beautiful kids and beautiful grandkids. And as Terry had said, it's the litany, the amount of 99.9% of all those functioning in music have gone to or touched or been around the Berklee College of Music community. So Lee and his wife Susan pioneered all of it with tremendous staff, tremendous faculty, tremendous teachers, tremendous administration. And at one point, when he knew the time to pass the baton, he did that and transferred it to a wonderful president named Roger Brown now, who has taken it to yet another new level. So, I think I should leave it at that, because I have like 350, 400 letters from Lee, and I can speak about this for really quite some time. But I love them more than love exists, and I'm so grateful that they're on the call today. So check out also students, please. Like your college, it's so famous, Texas A&M, Mays Business. Please go on to berklee.edu, berklee.edu. There's a plethora of information about careers and building resumes and social media presence and so on and so forth. Richard, in our closing 5 or 10 minutes, do you want to address any of these specific questions that?
Yeah. If we get time, I will. Dr. Mahajan has raised his hand. I do want to just give him a minute if Dr. Arvind Mahajan, you want to just say something?
Yeah, I had a question. I very much appreciate Shelley and Wilfredo to talk to our students. Such a privilege for our students to be exposed to talented and creative people like you. And it just reminded me, it was 1988, I heard B.B. King in Chicago at a free jazz concert, and it was the most incredible time of my life, even though it was cold as hell, but I'll never forget that. The question I had, and it was a conversation which Richard was absolutely, there you go. It was a question which Richard had raised about the commonality of what you were talking about with business. And I was reminded of a book I had read a long time ago called Gödel, Escher, and Bach. Gödel, the mathematician, Escher, the artist, and Bach, of course, the composer. It was a golden braid. And his idea was that creativity and thought, they transcend formal systems. And people as creative as you And that creativity is shared by Godel, Escher, and Bach, because he shows the commonality in their work between mathematics, painting, and the sonatas. There's a clear commonality. And I've kind of wondered if people as accomplished as you and as creative as you have ever thought about transcending what you do, making music and drumming, and putting that creativity to some adjoining area to see what happens there. Have you thought about getting out of what you're doing and doing something different?
Well, thank you so much for the question. It's really insightful. We on the street call it a side hustle. So, and when I say a side hustle, I don't know any professional friends that aren't doing other things. You know, whether they're doing real estate or whether they're doing, medical things or sales things. I've had so many different, when I was touring with Lola Falana, I was going to music stores selling a music video called Music On Magazine for them to buy a subscription of the latest products at the NAMM show. So I was involved as the vice president of sales and development for this technology company in Las Vegas while playing the shows at night. I know that Walfredo's had his hand in many things, as has Terry. I can speak for so many friends that I believe that if there is an advantage, I can speak from my perspective, the advantage would be that as creative talents, we're very open to possibilities. I speak in terms of all the kind of possibilities. The kind of possibilities that one of my musical mentors, Herbie Hancock, speaks of in his book, Possibilities.
Yeah.
When we have, as artists, you're playing on a stage or you're in a studio, you have to have the right vibe. You can just kill a session if you have the wrong vibe, if you're not the right kind of personality in the room, or you're not the right kind of personality on stage. And so we learn, I believe, as people in the music industry, how to hang, how to get along, how to collaborate, how to use our creative spirit to adapt to the program. So that opens up a lot of possibilities, as you're suggesting, Doctor, that, to look into things like real estate or transportation or air or defense. And really, alongside of the career that I've had in the professional music industry, I've done several things. Got into automatic banking solutions, had a transportation company that took care of the royal family of Oman for 12 years here in the United States, and all their medical treatments. So we've expanded, we all have expanded our careers. Does that satisfy your
Yes, excellent.
I don't know any musicians that don't think this way. We call it a side hustle.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. Yes.
Richard?
Well, look, we are at the 5:01. I know there were some other questions, but I want to make sure to respect everyone's time on here. Really so grateful for you, Shelly, for taking the time. We know you're out in LA right now. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our other special people. Wow, Lee Burke, man, I didn't know who you were. And let me tell you, it's a real pleasure to have you on. I remember many days walking by the Berklee College of Music when I went to undergraduate at Northeastern. It is awesome having you on as well. So respecting of I'm a huge opera and classical music guy. So, just props to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And obviously, Wally and Terry and all of you, just thank you so much for joining us today and just sharing, everything with our students. It's all about them, and we're so grateful. Dean Jones, Dr. Mahajan, excellent having you on as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you again soon.
Yes, definitely. Thank you all.
All right.
Good to see you, Wally.
Stay positive.
Stay cool, man.